So we've got a lot of these Karens out there, I'm just going to go ahead and say that, who are like, I have a black friend, I have a black husband, I have black babies. They use that as this like kind of like,
I'm excluded.
I'm not that because I've married this. How would you speak to that? What is it that's happening on that level when it's like, how could you say that I'm a racist? I have a black friend, you know what I mean? That kind of a thing, or I'm married to somebody who's a person of color. What does that look like?
Yeah. For me, it has required a lot of unlearning and relearning, historically, theologically, that doesn't just have white voices of influence. And so for me, yeah, I have a brown husband who has also been on his own identity journey for the last 10 to 15 years of what it has looked like for him to grow up as a brown man in the US. And there's a lot of pressure for people of color to simply assimilate into the majority culture, which means a loss of identity of their color, of their heritage, of their culture. And so the reclaiming of that is the work of a lot of people. So just because you have one friend also doesn't mean that that friend is embracing and aware of the cultural and racial identity that they also carry in their body. Does that make sense?
Of course, because like I think that's a part of this problem is like, well, my friend Nick said this, and it's like as if he now represents every black person that's ever existed. You know?
Right.
Which is such a weight. Like I have a mentor who has said like that you have the freight of feeling iconic then. So when I'm the only woman in a room full of male leaders, I feel the freight of being iconic that I now, if I misstep as a woman, that I'm going to represent all women. And the same is true if you've got one friend of color. And there are a lot of people of color who have felt this pressure to assimilate and therefore have abandoned and lost their culture and their history and have, it's a loss. It's a grief and a harm for them as well. So even like raising black babies, like we could be raising our children to have black skin, but to be living in a white world, quite honestly, you know? And so there takes a lot of thought and intentionality of what does it look like for us to raise our kids so that they know that they are black, that they are from a place that has a very different culture, and to honor that culture, to celebrate that culture, to talk about that culture. And also for them to not feel like they have to be like their mom, who is quite white. So those are a couple of things that I think are just really significant. You can't have one because that one does not represent it all. And that one cannot carry all of that.